There we go. Now you can hear me. My microphone was muted. Whoopsie daisy. I was about to say, I think I'm ready. I think I have everything done that I need to do. Hello, friends. Welcome. Sarah, Emmy. How's it going? Usually I only, like, mute OBS. And I got hotkeys for that. But I was doing something, and I needed my microphone off so that captions didn't pick it up. But, whoops. Right? Hi! Travis is very good about pointing out when there's issues with microphones, and I really appreciate that. Hi, Devo, because I would much rather have somebody tell me, like, hey, your mic's off, or this thing is happening, than not know. I'd love to be able to fix the issues. Right? Yeah. So 100%, if you ever notice any, like, major issues with my sound or anything, or even with the games or anything, just let me know, and we'll fix it. Or at least we'll try to fix it. But hey, y'all, welcome in. How's it going? I am exhausted today, but it's okay, because I'm excited. So we're just gonna be a little less enthused than normal, but still just as excited. Assuming I can actually, like, speak. That's a part that's gonna be fun to deal with. But yeah, so I have figured out how to, thank you, Bono, for stopping in and saying hello. Lurks are totally fine, as you know. But I love you too, and I hope that you're doing well. It's true. Sarah's a very good bean. But yeah, I have figured out how to get Bad Ben to run. So we're gonna start out with that tonight, because I really want to check that out. And then we'll get back to Mirror Layers, because I'm also extremely excited about that game. But yeah, and I don't think I have any, like, news or anything. I'm just ready to do some games. Music. Excuse you. I should just get rid of this song. I should just get rid of this song from this playlist, because it always does this. Look at that. It's gone. Not even an issue anymore. My goodness. Yeah! It's Bad Ben time, David! David, it's Bad Ben time! It's gonna be great, and I'm very excited to share it with everyone. It's gonna be fantastic. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started with that. Probably, maybe. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope your night's great. I have to hiccup or burp. It's a hiccup. We gotta get you to watch the entirety of Bad Ben. You saw all the important parts from the first one, so that's all that matters. We do gotta get you caught up on the third one, though. Because it's very good. The PS4 will survive, I'm telling you. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna, like, cut off the music extremely suddenly, and it's fine. But yeah, we do have the content warnings for this game, as well as the link for it. It is a browser game, so anyone can play it. But just a heads up, flashing lights, potential jump scares, and probably cursing. Is the game too loud? Is that a good volume level? I can turn it up if I need to. It looks like it's a little quiet. It's very good art. It's good art. That's good art right there. And I do love the fact that they got Nigel to voice Tom for this one. Hey, Willis! How's it going? Okay, so what is it? WADs to move, E to interact, tab for the tablet, F for situational awareness mechanic. Perfect. Hello? that just a cat? Following footage was retrieved from the residence of Thomas Riley, a home he had just purchased at a sheriff's sale. I'm sorry! I can hear something on my stairs! I'm sorry that Travis did that to us last night, and it scared the shit out of you. This is also just how I
let's see what I've gotten myself
interact here.
He told me the previous owner mysteriously disappeared. And
there's that good Tom voice.
Tablet security system too.
Also, we have frames. I fixed it. Look, we can walk around. Everything's perfect. It's all great. Gotta keep an eye out for Ben, though. He's a little quiet. Oh, he's very loud for me. Is this... We'll try this.
God damn it.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
That controls the security system. Let's see if the camera and motion sensors are all working.
Motion activated. I mean, it's fine.
This. Shit.
Can you not?
Fuck. God damn it. This. Fuck.
Is he quiet? Is he too quiet?
This.
Cause like I can just stand here and do this
God
all day.
This. Fuck. This. Shit. God damn it. This. Fuck. God damn it.
That thing.
Fuck.
Can't interact with anything.
God damn it.
I mean, we'll definitely see it. We're gonna see it at a point.
Shit. This.
I love everything about this.
That takes care of the first floor.
Okay. Well, now we can look at how quickly we're going through this now. My goodness. Probably couldn't find an asset for it.
Fuck.
I'm also sad that the vacuum cleaner's not there, though. Real talk. Right, let's go, Tom.
This. God damn it.
I need to stop abusing this poor button.
That takes care of this floor. Now, to check the basement. This. God damn it.
It's also probably a good thing that we're not keeping track of,
Shit.
Not doing, like, a goddammit counter.
God damn it.
Because it'd be very high at this point. Right? We've got better frames. Also, camera, what happened to you?
God damn it.
Right, look at the... We got all the frames now. We're not constantly running into things. Well, nearly as much as we were previously. The first time that we watched, where am I going? Basement. That's where I'm going. I've just, like, walked through the entire house for no reason.
God damn it.
Yeah. No. Same Tom. Yeah, no, the first time that we watched Bad Ben in the server together as, like, a group event, we kept a goddammit counter, and I think we got up to, like, 20?
God damn it. Shit. It's locked. I guess
Shit.
I better search the house for
Shit.
some keys. It's
Okay.
like I'm in a lazy horror game made by a bad developer.
Sorry. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to play some of Corpse Pile's other games on the channel. They're not gonna be nearly as great because I have experienced them before. They'll still be fantastic, though. They're very good.
Let's go try this key out.
Emmy might recognize Corpse Pile, because they've done a lot of horror games with HQ Residential House.
Shit.
Because
No,
they know that
that's not the right
some
key.
people hate it.
There must be more somewhere.
Corpse Pile's very good, basically. Oh yes. Oh yes. Good old HQ Residential House. Hold on, key's in here, right?
Maybe this key opens the basement.
I just saw something like crawl under the bed, and I didn't like that. Tom.
God damn it.
I love this so much.
Shit.
Why is... Hi, baby.
This. Fuck. This.
It's true. Once you've seen HQ Residential House,
Damn, that's not the right
you
key.
can't
Better
you
keep
can't get
looking.
rid of it.
What was that? Sounds like something fell over upstairs.
Baby's gone. The dog bed is there. We do have like the little knight at the top of the stairs. He's in the wrong spot. But if they didn't put him there, then we wouldn't have seen him. Yeah, dog bed's down there. Hold on. Before we find the scary things. Well, Ferdy and I were talking about it, like, during the first movie, when we were both like, you know, I really like the fact that there's, like, a dog bed here in the middle of the floor, but there's no dog. And then they took it out for the second one. Even though a dog shows up in the second one. It's all very good. Look, baby's in here. Hi, baby.
God damn it.
What are you doing, baby? Yeah, doggo's fine.
This. Fuck.
Hold on. Gotta turn. Slowly but surely. Doghead was in the wash for the entire movie? Why are there so many keys?
What the fuck? Who has a box just filled with keys? You know what? Fuck this.
Also, there's a dude sitting in the
I'll deal with
corner.
this tomorrow.
Why is there a man in the corner? Tom, I need you to... You won't let me go through! I can't go see the person in the corner. That
Shit.
makes me upset.
God damn it.
It's true. It's true. Fun fact, Tom and I are basically the same person. We're both less concerned about ghosts and more concerned about resale value. It is this again.
Great. Now what?
But it
Sounds like
functions
that
this
came
time.
From the other side of the house.
And it's great, and I love it. I'm 100% here for it.
Fuck. God damn it.
Plus, I can just
Fuck.
cuss constantly. Oh, it's the ashes!
What the fuck is this? Are these ashes? God damn it. It's in my shoes and I'm not wearing socks. I have someone else's ashes in between my toes. Where the fuck did this come from?
Not the night
Cut
vision!
the power.
Not the night
God damn
vision!
it. Is someone upstairs? You better get out of my house, you little bitch.
I like the baby on the bed, or on the couch.
Fuck.
I'm also just waiting for the moment. It's just a baby. It's just a baby.
Shit.
I'm waiting for us to, like, walk down the long hallway upstairs and just get taken out by the stairs. High face in the closet! Hello?
Yes.
Little baby. Little teddy
God
baby.
damn it, it's cold in here. I better close that window. God damn it. Yes.
I love, I'm just here for this button.
Shit.
This one?
Shit.
This is the only button I give a shit about. It's true. Stairs are always
The fuse box is in the basement.
the enemy.
This asshole messing with me must be down there.
Frickin' stairs, am I right? Oh.
Shit.
Oh. It is best button. I just really appreciate any game that gives you, like, a dedicated odd function button. Okay. Like, not your home.
Fuck. Is that
Oh
blood?
no.
Not your home. Well, I got news for you. It is my home. Looks like this subtle blood trail leads to the basement.
Subtle.
Fuck.
Subtle. Little Misfortune has a dedicated glitter button, and I love
Looks
that.
like the basement is open. You better not be down there, you little bitch. It's
This is-
you and me now.
This is probably just the end of the game, right?
Kicking your ass.
Oh no.
Ass.
Oh no!
Fuck.
Oh, the sensitivity is extremely high.
Shit. God damn it.
Ben?
Ass. God damn it. Oh my god, it smells like shit. Was someone living down here? Well, doesn't look like anyone is here now. Let's see if I can get that camera fixed.
Sorry, can I zoom? I can't. Okay.
Doesn't look like it has any power.
Okay, how am I supposed to... Is it this? Oh, I hate this.
Shit. God damn it. Let me check the camera now. God damn it. What's wrong with this thing?
Ferdy, hi! Welcome in, Raiders! What is that thing in the corner? That's not my boy! Welcome in, friends! Did we just get taken out by a baseball bat? Welcome, Raiders! How's it going? How are y'all doing?
Ugh, my head.
It's Tom! Raid showed up. Bad Ben was like, I don't think so.
That fucker. The previous owner didn't disappear. He's been living down here the whole fucking time.
Oh,
Where did
no.
that bitch go? It's time for some payback.
Raid, how could you? We're missing our hat and I hate it. Where am I going? Tom, what are we doing? Sup, Matt? How's it going?
Aha! Found you. Looks like you got what you deserved, you bitch. Wait, who did this? I should get the fuck out of here. Wait, what the fuck? I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Even still. Yeah, this seems extremely outside there.
What the fuck? What the fuck is going on?
I saw Fruit did a Mushu earlier. Did we do another Mushu recently? Can I not?
God damn it.
But yeah, this is a new part. Mushu twice! Oh dang! Oh dang!
Oh, come on.
I'm here for that. Okay, we gotta change.
Looks like nowhere to go but
Everyone
up.
needs to go see
I hope
Bad
I'm
Ben.
ready for whatever's up.
Ad.
Beware. Communicating with
Oh my god.
Who's in here?
Is this an announcement for the next movie?
What comes after the departure?
Oh no! Oh no! Are you shitting?
Oh my god, that attic was the craziest shit. I've never seen so many hot ghosts in my life. Man, that was like the highlight of this whole experience. Anyways, moving on.
So for anyone who's just joining and has never seen the Bad Ben movies, you're missing out. They're great. They're very good. Top quality. Top tier. Best movies around. Would highly recommend. This game is the creator working with a game dev called Corpse Pile to, I guess, announce the next movie called Bad Ben Benign. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father, who... Oh. Also, go get your food, Matt! Do it. What is happening? What is going on?
God damn it.
Oh, okay, I'm supposed to click on it? Oh. Excuse me?
Fuck.
I am extremely confused. Oh? Oh?
Ass. God damn it. God damn it. Shit.
I unironically love this. Were we the monster in the basement? We were the monster in the basement, weren't we?
Shit.
We were the monster all along. Yeah, no.
Fuck.
Button still works.
Shit. Ass.
Well, that was wild. And I imagine extremely weird for people who have never seen the movies. But, you should go watch Bad Ben. First and foremost. Go watch Bad Ben, because it's great. And we'll definitely have to watch the other ones in the server at some point. Yeah, now you have to go watch them. If you're in the US, Amazon Prime has all of them except for the first one. And I found out that there's a whole channel dedicated to Bad Ben on Roku. So if you have a Roku, just get the Bad Ben TV channel. I guess. Wild. I need to catch up on Bad Ben because I haven't seen the last 3 movies. Thank you, Emmy. Thanks, Bono. But yeah, Fruity, sorry. Emmy, thank you for getting the Discord up there. If anybody would like to join our Discord, you're welcome to. I've unlocked hard mode. Not the alternate outfits! And a shotgun? Excuse me? Also, there is Bad Ben merch and I need it. Hold on, we just gotta activate hard mode. You probably don't want to. It won't be fun. I'm doing it. Activate hard mode. Yeah. Let's fucking go. we'll not play through the entire thing, but I wanna see it. two Kayshurrr tabs is too many. I also need Bad Ben merch in my life. Real talk. Nice! Good food, good food. No, that's too many Kayshurrr. That's too much Kayshurrr. I just want to see this shotgun. That's all. That's all.
Alright, let's see what I've gotten myself
Is this?
into.
This is
They
miserable.
told me the previous owner mysteriously disappeared. And they mentioned something about a tablet and security.
I hate this! Okay, well that's what hard mode is. Understood. I get it. I understand now. We're gonna exit out of that. And I'm just gonna put that all back. It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay. I don't know. I didn't get to the point where there was a shotgun. I was told that there was a shotgun, but then they made hard mode gross looking. Yeah, hard is destroy your eyes mode. It's fine. Okay, well, that's the Bad Ben game. If people want to check it out, you can. It is available through the game link chat command. Me getting excited about mirror layers, because that's what we're gonna move on to now. Apparently I need to launch Steam because I hadn't. But it's time to do some more mirror layers. Also, Willis, thank you for the contribution to the community challenge. I keep forgetting that we have that up, but if people would like to have us do a partial week of wholesome streams, go ahead and donate to that. Fruity, thank you as well. So we're gonna play Mirror Layers. It's a game that we started yesterday that is akin to Silent Hill 4. Hold on a second. I gotta get it to capture. Hey game, capture. Hey game, capture. Hey game, would you like to show up? Hey, thank you, Matt. There we go. So basically, it is a cooperative game where I have to solve puzzles, but use in-game internet to contact other players to get items that we need to solve some puzzles, and exploring our apartment in both this version of the apartment and a weird altered version of the apartment. Yeah, in-game internet. I mean, it uses actual internet. All right. Oh, and here's some of our beautiful pictures, which we will look at in just a minute. But in-game internet. Just hop on in here, open up propaganda, and you get to see your friends. I think... Oh. Okay. I think we're gonna have new friends this time because it keeps you with players who are at a similar part of the game as you are. Has anybody else liked... We have 2 likes on our beautiful Mushu. You love to see it. Okay, let's go. Yeah, we do also have this lovely little notebook, which is awesome. No Ghost Kisser anymore, which is a damn shame, because I loved Ghost Kisser. This is what we need to do, right? But here are our beautiful Mushus. This was our comfort Mushu. And... hold on. And this was our first Mushu. It's a good Mushu. 2 Mushus. It all comes back to Mushu. Oh. 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 Okay. So what do we need to do? We need to call this number and try the other options. What did we... Sassy Mushu is very powerful. Look at that. Look at that Mushu. Oh, I can get very close to them. Oh boy. What did we do yesterday? We got chased by a monster and that was awful. We played a video game inside our video game. We called this number and asked the lady how she died. And she said that she was in the fridge. Yeah, we gotta call him from the bad place. You're right, you're right. I realized that, like, after I picked up the phone. Okay, so before we jump back into the bad place, we called the number, we talked to a lady. She said, yeah, she said that she was in the fridge and that we shouldn't open it. And so... Hold on a second. I mean, I tried to open the fridge and it, like, wouldn't let me. It was not an option. I can open up the fridge here. And... Oh. Fridge is fine here. You're fine for now. For now. It's chilling. Oh no. Oh, that's the bad hallway that I don't want to go into. Like, can't really explore anyway. There is a monster here. Occasionally. And I hate it. But here's the fridge in question. And I cannot interact with it. Sorry, scary sounds. I am unsure what the things on the walls are. And I don't like it. Just regardless of what it is, I don't like it. Now I'm on high alert and I don't want to be... Okay, so hold on. We gotta call 555-111-6274. Hello? Bad spaghetti. Oh gosh. Stranger Things. I can see it. Probably one first? B up select. Okay. Jesus Christ. B up cell. I'll hopefully know what that means. Hello? Thanks. Can I just... Hi, Lamia. Hold on a second. I got a kitten. Come here. Hi. You finally woke up. Look who it is. It's Lamia. It's a kitten. Hello, Bean. She is doing better. Let's just pop on over here so you can see her. Hi. She's feeling a little bit better. You want a full llama update? So Lamia got a little ill this last week. She got a UTI and couldn't pee properly. But we have antibiotics for her now. She's on day 2 at this point. And she's done a full pee a couple of times, which is great. Isn't it, kitten? So she's doing a lot better. We've got a follow-up appointment a week from this coming Friday. And we'll see how she's doing then and see what we gotta do. But she's doing much better. And it's great. Look at her. Look at this happy little cat. So full of piss! Okay, I need to set you down, baby. Because I've paused the game, but I don't think it's actually paused. Okay? Okay? But no, she's doing much better, which is great. She's not hopping into the litter box nearly as much as she was. Or at least doing, like, the back and forth thing that she had been doing. Which is great. Sorry, I keep hearing, like, weird sounds in the background. I don't like it. I'm gonna turn the game up just a smidge, because I feel like it's a little quiet. Let's try that. And then if it's too loud, let me know. Class time. I'm also happy that she's doing better. Stop! I also heard I could crawl under beds? This changes everything. This changes everything. Right? Right? We did have a note that said beds were OP. X up. Wait, no. X up. Select? Oh no. B up select. Is that not what I was doing though? Fuck. Fuck. B up. Oh, do I have to do it all at the same time? Okay. I was not holding them. Stop! Okay. I hear someone stomping around and breaking shit. It's Monster Man. Monster Man's here. It's fine. No need to worry. Everything's fine. What are you lost about, Emmy? What can I maybe possibly explain? It is Knife Hand. I'm gaming, monster! Is that too loud or is it quiet? I feel like it's quiet. I'm gonna turn it up again. Is that better? Is this him going away? Why are you here? Oh, okay. So what happened was we played the game. We got to we played like the star game, right? We got to the very end of the level and ended up decapitating a couple of people with a guillotine, like you do. But then the game crashed and said that we needed a firmware update. So we called the number that was on the screen, which is what we just did now, but it gave us 3 options: either to get a firmware update sent to our house, know how to install the firmware update, or find out how she, quote-unquote, was killed. So, last time we asked how she was killed, and she said she was in the fridge, and that we shouldn't look, so we didn't. Well, I tried to look, but I can't open up the fridge. Sorry, I don't like the sounds this man makes as he walks around. It sounds like breaking glass. Anyway, so now, start of this stream, we called the number back, found out, or got the, God, my fucking brain, got the firmware sent to us, figured out how to install it, and now we are installing the firmware update. And it is installed. Also, thank you for the clip, Sarah. So I think we're good? I'm just terrified that the monster is gonna come in here and ruin my day. Okay. What is it? Enter? Please stop whispering at me. Oh. Z to jump, X to shoot. Oh no! Oh no! Hi, Dougie! I'm no longer worried. How's it going, friend? How are you doing? Just me panicking constantly. It's fine. Those are the people that we decapitated, though, right? What is happening? Why? 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 We gave kindness to her. There's no need to do that anymore. I hate this. Now breathe. Rest a bit. For real. Jesus. Get ready, proceed. Oh. I don't like it. Join us now in the eternal moonlight. Also, grip it and rip it. Of her kind mirror layer. Excuse me? Oh, I'm pushing that. Okay. Hello? Also, the grip and rip it command is exclamation point PST. In case you were wondering. There you go. No. No. Now we won't see anything. I'm gonna close my window real fast. Here. You can look at Lamia. Okay. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. It's all fine. No! Stop! I don't see anything anymore. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go where they're not? Ah! Yeah, how do you remove child? Can I just walk there backwards? No, that won't work. Okay. Can I just leave? Cannot just leave. Do I just not go where child is? Do I don't even have my trusty notebook, and that's extremely upsetting. Do I just not look? Kind of? That seemed to sort of work. Hold on, how do we... Nope, that didn't work. What am I supposed to do? Because I can't open or close doors. I can't turn lights on. And it's not like I can access internet, right? Miss Ghost Kisser. Ghost Kisser. Hmm. They usually do. He's a kid who sucks. Okay. So I need to go the direction that he isn't going in? It's me trying to puzzle through this. How about over here? What if I go over here? This takes me back to the start. Uh... baby. Put away? What? Kiss the baby. Mwah.
Red. Green. Red. You move.
I did move. Okay. Yo, you start me over all you start me over! Oh my god. Oh my god. It's fine. We know how to get there. We know how to get there fairly quickly. Look, I can even run there. Speed run tactics. We got this. Red light, green light? I'll be pro with this. Don't even worry about it.
Red. Green. Red. Green. Red. Green. Red. Green.
You're not my mom! Do I go into the bedroom then instead of continue to chase after him? You're not my dad! Stupid, ugly doodle head? Okay.
Red. Green.
I don't want to adopt this child.
Red. You move.
Oh, well, fuck off, kid. Child! I was trying to see where the static was coming from. Please. Please. Making me go through this house in stupid ways.
Red. Green. Red. Green. Red. Green. Red.
I didn't though! I didn't move though! Okay. Okay. Listen here. Listen here, you little shithead. Not Squid Game. Not Squid Game. I'm not gonna give a little kiss to him. They keep grabbing me. And that's not a time to do a kiss.
Red. You move.
Oh my god. Mwah. I need this fucking kid to go away. Ah! Also, welcome back. Welcome back, Matt. Everything's bad here. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. Okay. Okay, Ghost Kisser would. I'm not Ghost Kisser. We have established. How'd it go? How do you think your presentation went? I want the stupid kid to go away. He should go in the fridge with the lady. Just shove that child into the fridge. You short? Yeah, but did you do good? Do you feel good about it?
Red. Green. Red. Green. Red.
Oh my god.
Green. Red.
Not on top of the fridge. In the fridge. This house is a fucking nightmare.
Red.
Kid just wants his mom. But mom's in the fridge. I told the child to get in the fridge, and I know I told the child to get into the fridge. Didn't think he would enjoy it that much. Hey, Brett, how's it going? How are you doing? We asked them to give us anger. Oh! Child may have shoved the mother into the fridge. There's a not small chance that the child shoved the mother in the fridge. Oh, I got rid of my note! That's upsetting. How's it going though, Bretts? How are you doing? Welcome in. Alright, we got lots of new messages, right? You received 10 cores. The studio is now unlocked. You can find some interesting items in there. Wowie. Fire duck? What is fire duck? Can't click on anything. You missed us yelling at a child. Tell me your secrets, fridge. Sweet, sweet revenge is drawing inside is my old pal, Buckethead. I mean, practically. Basically. Mirror layers very similar to, Silent Hill 4. Ghost Kisser is back. It's true. This was 9 hours ago? You guys are not gonna believe the dream I just had. Also, I have a camera now? Infinite possibilities? Lol, NF turd. Just edibles making me see dead kids. Lol. Does anybody have anything useful to say? What is this? Become a hacker? Hacker newcomer? Lesson 2, useful tips! Hello, newcomers. In this lesson, we will continue to explore some basic web hacking tricks. As you know, many websites have a control panel from which you can see and edit every page, even the hidden ones. Usually, these panels can be reached by adding /admin to the end of the base URL. For example, if we happen to be browsing the website underattack.com, it would be a good idea to try visiting website underattack.com/admin. Hopefully, we will be presented with a login form with username and password, but many novice web developers leave the default values admin for the username and password for the password for access data for this very delicate area. Ghost Kisser's back. It's just pictures of toilets now, it's true. Yep. She just bought me, it's fine. It's fine. Starting to get Hypnospace Outlaw vibes. I am unfamiliar with this. At other times, however, they set an insecure password. In those cases, to guess it, you need to use simple social hacking. Yeah. Keep following me to find out how to become a real hacker. Okay, but what if we did all this /admin? Dumb. Fireduck /admin? Stupid. Okay. Gonna play that at some point. It's gonna be red. Oh wait, is that the one that you showed me with like the very, very 90s web pages? What is happening? Why am I getting things? Okay. What? Can we try? Okay. I didn't think that would work, but... Puzzle game in a fake 90s internet. Yeah! Yeah! I remember you telling me about that one. I'm here for this. Let's go. Also, I love puzzle games. No hate on puzzle games, only love for puzzle games. Okay, everyone was taking pictures of the bathroom, right? And I would like to think that maybe we're vaguely mature adults. But we shall see. I'm not gonna put the camera in the washing machine. No, thank you. We still haven't done anything with the piano. Still nothing in here. Go get that ice cream. I support this. It's good calls. We'll be here when you come back. Can't do anything with that. Can I... I have no idea what that is. Can we... Hold on. Alright, we got... None of these are, like, helpful, right? You should get some. Have you considered just getting some? That sounds delicious. I would eat that. Don't worry, guys. I'm here to lend a hand. Oh no. Hey, Ratma! News report. Creepy kid keeps making everyone play a strange game of red light, green light. Where are his parents? More news at 10. Making it this far was an easy. Good job, everyone. I mean, it wasn't that difficult either, though. What am I supposed to, like... Ube ice cream? I've not had it, but I do love me some ube. Giving everyone the ability to take photos has caused chaos. Abso-fucking-lutely it has. Guess that's Ivan Zanotti's other game. Got a camera, but it won't let me upload it, so... Oh, somebody found a newspaper article. I guess I should probably, like, wander around. Where are his parents? For real, though. Well, we know where a parent is. They're in the fridge. I still really like this game. However, I'm a little lost. Just a little lost at the moment. Fridge. Tell me your secrets, fridge! No secrets. Good fridge jokes. One in fridge, one in freezer? Mayhaps? Didn't like that. I don't want to go back to the other scary world, though, is the thing. I don't want to be here. I'm gonna go back through for a minute. Don't mind my sight, I just couldn't be, but some special guests are looking towards me. Don't mind my sight, I just couldn't be, but some special guests are looking towards me. Eat the fuck out of that ice cream. Some special guests are looking towards me. I mean, he's looking, like, directly at the mirror, right? Pistachio ice cream! I'm jelly. I'm jelly. What is happening here? Does anyone know what to do with the plant? Ooh. Ooh, I don't necessarily want hints just yet. Pistachio is so good! Pistachios are a type of nut, buddy. They're delicious. They're green and they're yummy. Said what I said. Said what I said. But it's art. Hello? Why are these... Don't like that he's so wiggly. Hold on. Okay, so we've got... Clown. Go side to side. I don't... No. Paintings were definitely not always here. Lady... is down. Oh no, the bad word. No, you're trying to say world, but I guess Nakey? Noki is a square? Finger guns is a circle. She's just trying to be. Just let the naked lady be. Why are there flowers? That's a... Oh no. Okay, hold on. So... 5 ladies, how I'm gonna label her. I didn't like that sound. Is a moon. That's a bad drawing, but I'll hopefully remember what that is. Everyone's wildin' today. It's true. Is it supposed to be how many fingers they have? Head. Is that up and down? I think so. And then upside down lady is a star. She's got 4, 5, 6, 7 fingers. Put 7 right under there. Head has 1. Oh, God. Not me freaking out over the sounds. I'll figure out the flowers in a minute. 5 lady is 5. We kind of put that in her name. Happy glassing. Are there any more? There are more paintings, and I hate that for me. Stop. Everything's goopy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like it here. She's got 3. Finger guns has 2. Clown has 10. Okay, okay, okay. Not me just being on edge. Website. Oh! Website! Blob is still here. What is this? What is this? We'll say... Point. Lady. Which is a diamond. She's got 4. That's a terrible 4 and I don't give a shit. I don't think the potato is doing well. Honestly. Oh, my nose is running. Oh no. Rip the page. Say... Blonde lady. That's a terrible B and I don't give a shit. I guess we'll just say blonde. She's a triangle. She's got 4 fingers? I feel like the numbers are probably important. I'm just taking down every possible note right now. Stare. 5 and a weird... That works. Sure. Again, not me just being terrified of everything. Red. Just very red. What is that symbol? Like... Sure. And what, 8 fingers? Okay, there... I'll probably have to match the flowers to the paintings. Shit, this is kind of unfortunate. I just want to make sure there aren't any other paintings at the moment. I really enjoy this game. but it also scares the shit out of me. Down point. What is that? Like a partial circle? Don't gasp at me. That's a terrible picture, but that's fine. We got 2. I wonder if this is going to be the password. Yeah, I'm going to think about a solution once I, like, get all the paintings written down. We get back to the other world. Check out the website. I know, it's a bad mushroom. And it deserves judgment. However, I'm doing the best I can. Alright. Okay. Okay, we've been in there. Just gonna start leaving doors open. So I know where I've been. That's still locked. Okay, this is fine. It's fine. We got that one. That's locked. Oh, I hate the whispering. We've been in there. Forgot the body was there. Oh my god. Okay. Alright. I'm an idiot, and I could have just taken pictures this entire time. I should have done that. I should have taken some pictures. Okay, no, this is fine. This is fine. This works fine. Ugh. I can't take that many pictures all at once, though, is the problem. We'll rip that off, and we'll pin that there as well. Please. Please. Oh, no. Okay. Let's check out the website first. Okay. My brain really just did not want to do anything. And we do. We need string facts, though. Oh, no. Florist.altervista.org. This is not what I want. I want Fire Duck. altervista.org. Oh, product codes. Okay. All right. Look here. I'm gonna have to match all these up, aren't I? Or since 1992. About. Year since 92. Born in 1992. Florist is a plant nursery that loves life a lot. After our work in Maine, we decided that it was time to move into a quieter place. Come visit us in our new workplace. Address 22 Creek Road, Silberg. Propaganda nickname, Roland Shoework. Is that how you spell it? S-C-H-U. Welcome back. Oh. It is not. Registered on 1990. Like, in 1990. Jesus. Only 58 collective. If you're looking for beautiful flowers, Fleuris is the shop for you. I'm always ready to satisfy your needs. In addition, next week the shop will open for special customers, too. What does it say? Imagine being on social media for almost 3 decades and no one interacts with your posts until now. Can I be a special customer? This dude seems like the kind of guy to murder his wife and jump out a window, just saying. Lol. It's because the lady is in the fridge. And there was blood by the window, suggesting that somebody threw themselves out. I know some of you would have liked to visit me, but today the shop will open only for a special customer. I'm sorry. Greenhouse is open again. Look at how happy Chester is. I'm just gonna download a picture of your child. Don't worry about it. Florist family, hang in there. I'll reopen my shop soon with a whole new catalog. I bet you that's the red light, green light kid. You got this. You got this handled. I'd like to let the delivery guy know that if I don't accept employees, it's because I take my job very seriously. Selling flowers to people is my life mission, and not something I can delegate to strangers. Never give up on your dreams. A few years ago, I thought about giving up, but then life gave me a wonderful son and a job that I love. Always keep working hard. I don't think you want to, Emmy. Real talk? We need to talk about your son. I still don't trust him. I never said it wouldn't, Emmy. I never said that this day wouldn't come. He's not made any comments ever. I'm gonna follow this post just so I can easily find him again. Do I have to find the flowers associated with a picture that looks like his son? Do you think? Don't need to talk about your car's extended warranty. Oh no. Okay, what was his kid's name? Already forgotten. Here, you can go right next to Mushu. That's a terrible photo, my guy. Oops. Here. We'll put all... Ooh, I don't like it when they're phasing next to each other. These are trash. We're done with these. That's our trash corner now. These all go over here, because they're all related to the man, right? Yeah, it's our trash corner. It's fine. It's where you put trash, you know? Don't mind my sight, I just couldn't be, but some special guests are looking towards me. Sawyer? Was that his son's name? Okay, let's go back. It's not wrong. Definitely not wrong. I'm gonna pick these back up as well. Sometimes you just need to reorganize your conspiracy board. And that's fine. Okay. And we're gonna take pictures of everything. Mushu can go up here. Go there, Mushu. Mushu, further up. That's as high as he's gonna get. Alright. You can also go down here. I know! I want the red string, but they're not gonna give it to me, which is extremely unfortunate. That's also trash corner time. Excuse me. Everything just connects back to Mushu. It's fine. I should probably take pictures of the special guests, right? So we should take pictures of the flowers that have the side to side, probably the weird little triangle as well. I'm trying to think of all of, like, which ones were the young boys. And I think that was it. Blonde was a lady. Red was androgynous, really, if we're being real about it. It's a terrible, terrible thing. I need a Gex on the board? You want me to draw a Gex? Okay, hold on a second. Hang on a second. I think the down one was also a lady, but we'll put that there anyhow. And a hydrate. I can do a hydrate. Woo! Thank you for the hydrate on me! Here's Big Juice. Lady, Nakey. 5 lady. Point lady. UD lady. I don't remember what UD stands for, but that doesn't matter. Upside down is what it stood for. All femme. Don't need them. Head. Big. That's because Big Juice is bigger in person. Big Juice is very large. We've come to accept and acknowledge this. I'm glad you were able to see Big Juice in person, so you know how large it is. I was not joking. Okay, so I think those are the 4 that I, like, need to find. We can take that with us. Alright, you want me to draw a Gex? I don't know that I can. What does Gex look like? Sorry, I've got Mushu on the brain most of the time. So, like... Oh no. Oh no, I've already done it so bad! Oh no.
Done this.
I can believe that I've done this. It's got little webbed feet. Oh, this is horrible. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to everyone who's seeing this right now. Are Gex's eyes, like, on the top of his head? Or are they, like, in his head? Is he a cartoony? Fuck, what does Gex look like? We're gonna go somewhere in the middle. Oh, that went much further down than I thought it was going to. He's disappointed with what I have done to him. I don't know that we need to think about Gex more, though. Real talk. I hate this. I know he's got purple stripes on his back. I don't have purple, though. So it's gonna have to be blue. I'll try to color him in a little bit. I don't feel like these are nearly as satisfying as Fruity's drawings. Because again, Fruity's got a lot to choose from. Not the killer quips. Please, anything but that. Yeah, he's extremely disappointed. Does Gex have anything else?
Motivation.
Holy shit. Is there anything else about Gex? Gotta look up Gex. I gotta look up Gex real fast. And I hate that I have to look up Gex. I do love that I added that as a like a sound clip. Just Gex. What does Gex look like? Wow, I've done a terrible job, actually. An extremely bad job. Really. If we're being honest. Thank you for the bubble. And another hydrate. I can do another hydrate. Thank you, Fruity. As you are the #1 Gex expert. It means a lot. That you think he looks great. He does have, like, color around his eyes. Oh, I've done this bad. Oh, I've made a mistake here. But again, it's like a purple color. So what if I just, like, mix blue and red together? It gives a vague sense of purple, right? But he does have, like, the stripes, like, all along his tail as well. So I gotta get that in there. This is perfectly normal and fine. He's also got him on his little leggies. So gotta get a couple of those in there, on those little leggies. There you go. There's little stripes on his little leggies. And, I don't have any yellow. So you're gonna have to pretend that all of this is yellow. But, same with, like, this area around his mouth. That's also yellow. But I will try and color in all this green. So that you know he's a funny green lizard. And also, so that we can take a moment and be like, he's so green and pleasant, he's making us nervous. You know, like a green lizard do. Making you nervous because he's so green and pleasant. Oh, my pen's going a little wacky. Pen's like, I'm gonna go everywhere that you don't want me to. And I'm like, Pen, have you considered not going everywhere that I don't want you to? And the pen is like, nah, going where you don't want. It's like, alright, that's cool, Pen. That's fine. Just ruined this beautiful, lovely drawing that I have made for all of my friends here on the internet. That's okay. I didn't want us to have a nice thing. Obviously. Fucking hell. What have I done? You're wrong. You're wrong, Fruity. He's yellow. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. He's yellow. You can't see it very well. Oh god, he's so blown out. Oh no. There you go. That Gex is yellow. That's a yellow boy. Do I know Gex better than Fruity now? Or does Fruity also just have too much Mushu on the brain? Because that would be understandable. Wow. 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 It's my best Owen Wilson impression. That's all you're getting. Wow. Okay. There's a Gex. Look, I'll even outline his little armies a little bit. So that you know that those are arms and not just weird parts of his body. There's your Gex! This... Oop. Is a Gex XOXO by Kayshurrr. Heart. Fruity, I don't want to know more about Gex than you. I don't want this, but Gex has a yellow belly. I'm sorry. I hope you're happy about those. We are gonna have to remake those at some point. If we make this whole thing a redeem. That's just the fridge. Because reasons. Yeah, XOXO. Gotta make sure you know that I love Gex. Okay, so we gotta find the side-to-side one. Side-to-side plant, right? There's the side-to-side plant. Cool. Perfect. We also need to find the triangle with a little bit taken out of it. We also need to find the eight-pointed star. And we need to find the really bad mushroom that's technically just half a circle with a little nub. Right? I never said I wouldn't fight you, Fruity. Hey, Fruity, I will fight you anytime, anywhere, anyway. Let's fucking go. I'm just saying, it's not because I want to know more about Gex than you. Don't whisper at me. I don't want to know more about Gex. I don't need Gex knowledge. I mean, if you want to join on Fruity's side, but if you join me, it's gonna... I mean, it's already an extremely unfair advantage that I have over Fruity. Simply because I'm ridiculously scrappy. Don't fire me, please. Oh, it keeps all of my photos in one thing. That's really nice.
Cool it, Sanchez, or you'll get a knuckle supper.
I beg your pudding. Well, then you can figure out when to fight Fruity on your own time. Which other one do we need? Is it... Oh no. Is that all of them? No, that's 3. So which one am I missing? We got the side-to-side one. That's this one. We got the triangle, right? Emmy, no, how could you? Don't fire me. I don't want to take pictures of plants. Yes, we got the triangle and we got the 8-sided star. I have to. I have to take pictures of them. I'm sorry. And then I need the semicircle. Maybe you should do a sleep. Have you considered doing a sleep? Where the fuck is the plant? It is a good day for being sleepy. It's facts. Truth. That's locked. And that's a regular star. No plant in here. I mean, that is one way to resolve the fight situation. That would work. Have you considered? Consider going to bed. Found the plant. Isn't that an aloe? Looks like an aloe. Okay, let's go back through. Okay. Time to get back on the internet. Gonna do some sketchy shit on the internet. Okay, so we do have an aloe vera, right? Now I have to write down on an actual notepad because I can't access my notepad when I'm at the fucking computer, which seems wrong. We've got capital R, M, F, 0, A, G, V, Y. Well, have you considered sleeping more? Sleep is important and good. Okay, hold on. I gotta put these all down. This is unhelpful, game. That's a lily, right? Of some sort. No. It's this thing. I don't know what that is. Okay, so that is going to be... Is that an I or an L? Game? I can copy paste! Okay, no, that's helpful. Can I open up another fire duct? Only one at a time. Unfortunate. Okay, well it was Flores, AltaVista.org. Can I do that / admin? Admin. Control V. Sawyer. Okay, hold on. What was his name? What was his name? Roland. No more posts. Chester. His name is Chester. Hi, my son's name is Chester. Sorry, I don't know why I'm being such a bitch about that. Flurries, AltaVista.org. I forgot to do the / admin. My brain is melting. Admin. What is the name of your son? Chester. Instructions. Files corrupted. It may have been modified or corrupted. Okay. Can I do text editor? Edit file? Local server instructions. Open the command line console and type connect to this IP. I feel like a hacker. No, I do like this though. Establishing connection. Connected to local server administration. Downloading floppy.mirror. Download complete. Open download directory? Yes. What is this? Okay, can I... Clarice. Too many things open. Ass! Sorry. Ghost Kisser! Ghost Kisser's back. Everything's good. Okay, I'm gonna keep that open because that's important. Can we insert the floppy disk? I don't like that sound. Welcome to the flower shop. Order history or place new order. Order history. 0 orders in history. Okay, place 2. Insert the product codes. This is a bit of a problem. I need to figure out where these plants are. Is that it? Okay, let's stare at these pictures for a little bit. This one is in front of another pot. That one has some greenery behind it. That one has some greenery to the right of it. Oh my god, hiccups. Actually, hold on. That one might be... I'm pretty sure I need to enter the product code of the 3 plants that the kidney, heart, and lung pictures are of, right? I wish I could get closer to this. I don't know that they're being like planted in them, but it's definitely like it's unhelpful. Okay, hold on. Lots of stuff. These are all extremely unhelpful photos. Okay, I just have to remember where they are. Plants, mostly. Okay, this is fine. We can... Yeah, these are all trash corner stuff now. Well, I think we'll keep the plant pictures for the time being. Yeah, we're plant photographers now. Welcome. Okay, so... I think this is one of them? I know we've already taken a picture of it. Because it was an aloe, right? I don't think that's one of them. Don't think that's one. I think so. Yeah. So I think the organs are trying to tell me which plants I'm supposed to get the product codes for. To place a new order with the florist shop. But the issue is there's not a lot of context go on. You know? From what little they've shown me. Fruity, why would you do this? Unless... Ah! Bad man, bad man, bad man, bad man! Give me that. Glass knife man is here. Knife glass man. Oh, he really is like glass. Oh, he's like the broken mirror. No, sir! Okay, well, I've died. That's extremely unfortunate. Knife glass man.
When will you learn? When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
Never. Yeah, so I think he's definitely Mirror Man. Wow, that sucked. I don't like how it's reset my computer. It's fine. Let's get this back out. Thank you for the bubble. Can you imagine? The game is just trying to punish us now at this point. It's fine. Okay, instructions. Oh my god, please just select the whole thing. Yeah. Control V, let's go. Establishing connection. Connected to the local server administration. Yeah. Just give me the... Wait, no. I don't need this. This is not what I need. Fuck. What do I need? Not floppy. I just need to go into floppy, right? No. Where did I get the information? Edit file? It's 8 o'clock. Where? No, that's just our Mushu. Edit file. Yo, real talk. How did I get there? It might, no, you might be right. There's a lot of different places that I have to keep track of. And I always forget to do /admin. Admin, this doesn't matter. Chester. Right, yep, nope, you're right. Thank you, Fruity. Okay, so this one has like something behind it. This one has a plate under it and a plant behind it on its left. This one also has a plate under it and a plant to its right. They all have plates under them. Okay. So we've got first one is gonna be, I don't know that if you I don't know if you say bless you if somebody's coughing. I don't know. Sorry, excuse me if I just have an existential crisis. Do you say anything if somebody coughs? You don't, do you? Excuse me while I just, like, break my brain about this. You just say stay away from me, right? But behind... These are terrible letters. With... stick. Sure. To... I think you just... I don't think anyone else says anything. I think the person that coughed usually just goes, excuse me. I don't know. Yite, bro? Yeah. You okay? I mean, this requires me interacting with people regularly. That's not something I'm known for. Alright, so we've got plant behind... Or plant to the left, right? These are terrible letters. Is there anything else about this? There's a wood floor. Hard to see. Also wood floor. This could potentially be a table? Or is that a carpet, but this is wood flooring? Our words for day after tomorrow is day after tomorrow. Plant to left. Carpets? Wow, this is terrible. Yeah, but English it's got to be complicated, right? Wood floor. Wow, I'm not gonna be able to read any of this. By wood floor. Oh my god. I promise I can write legibly in real life. You wound the bandage around the wound? It's all about context. No, English is hard as fuck. And then we've got plant behind wood floor. Okay. Cause problems with words? Oh, aggressively fall for ligmas. You silly, silly bean. Why were you wiggling? Why were you wiggling? Oh, I hate everything. I hear him and I don't know where he is. You don't know I'm down here. Go away. Yeah, no, like I've said, English is a garbage language that just likes to complicate everything. Because it's based on way too many other languages. Or at least it's appropriated so much from so many other languages that there are no consistent rules about anything. Yeah. Is the man gone? Well, it's because we try to find... Sorry, I thought I heard him. Oh my god, go away! We try to follow the rules of some of the languages that we steal, but we steal so many different languages that, like, you can't use all of the rules for everything, because they're contradictory, and or they don't make sense in certain contexts. It's just bad. English is just complicated. For no reason. Yeah, it's what we do. Because that's what white folk do. We steal shit. We're colonizers. Can Glassman go away? Do you think Glassman is gone? You think Glassman got bored? The mirror is available. Glassman is gone. Confirmed. You think... Plant to the left, carpet. Plant behind wood floor. Pot behind with stick. Well, those are definitely leaves that I saw. No, I don't care. I don't care if Glassman wants a hug. That is not my problem. Glassman has got to find someone else to hug. Because it is not me. I don't have my camera? That's a problem. Well, there you go. Freddy's doing the work of for the rest of us, so none of us have to hug Glassman. And I love that for us. Does Glassman... But what if I already know I'm good? I appreciate what Glassman's trying to do, but I'm gonna need him to not, you know? Stop whispering at me. I would rather longingly gaze at Glassman and pretend that there were no problems. Okay, look here. I am confused. I want this. Want to make sure that this didn't say anything new. Does not. I thought I was onto something. However, I'm definitely not. So let's go look at the internet for some hints. Shrimp check. Okay. Hold on. We're gonna get a slight stretch in there as well. Yeah, no slouching. No slouching. Cheerios is also confused. Hold on, I'm stuck. I've taken pictures of all the portraits in the mirror world. Paired them with their matching plants. I've also hacked into Flores Alta Vista. Got the floppy disk, but I have no idea what to do next. Please help. I've been stuck for hours. Same. Oh! Oh. Okay. Ghost Kisser, I know that. Fruity, you gotta sit up. Got the red flowers and the yellow flowers confused for the longest time, but it all paid off. Pictures of the flowers and tried every combination I could think of with the paintings facing the dead guy, but nothing seems to work. Can somebody point me in the right direction? What? Only thing you know is that the product codes on the website can turn into a phrase if you run them through the base 64 translator. Two paintings, an aloe plant in the dead guy room. So I'm not sure if the aloe is part of the order or if it could be the painting in a hallway. Okay, I think why are we burying people? Good point, Matt. You don't gotta be straight to have a straight back. Okay, so I think I need to look at, so as far as the puzzle is concerned, I think I need to look at all the paintings that face our dead guy, right? Mayhaps. Put Mushu up there. Okay, what of these can I get rid of? See, don't mind my side, I just couldn't be, but some special guests are looking towards me. So I need to find the ones that are looking towards him. What is this? Clown lady. I guess I'll put this up here for now. Chester is dumb. I don't know how tall I am in centimeters, but I'm 5'8". It's like 68 inches, I think. I like this picture of the dead man, so that's gonna go up there. Florist is gonna go up there. That's my dang camera. I got an inch on Fruity. Hella. Got some average folk in here. Okay, so we got... She's down? These people are all looking away. I need to find the paint or the flowers with the down symbol. You're 5'4"? Oh wait, no, sorry. That's Emmy. I saw yellow and was like, whoa! Whoa! No, Matt's even shorter than that! Matt! It's fine. It's precious, is what it is. Okay, these flowers. Willis over here being tall. Triangle Lad? Triangle Lad's kind of looking at the guy. Please don't. It's okay, I'll just punt ya. Just do a little kick. Nah, no shame in being short. Okay, where is... Oh, that scared the shit out of me! Excuse me while my soul just leaves my fucking body. I have completely forgotten what I was doing. was gonna say, 5'1" is tiny. Okay, lady for sure. We got her picture. Boy, probably. Holy shit. Maybe the star? Like the regular star? Because Span is over there, right? That's kind of looking over there. Whew. That's the multi-point star. That's the one that we've got. That's a triangle. Stars. That's a circle. Oh my god, just running in circles at this point. Jesus. That was terrifying. Are those the 3 paintings then? I think so? I think so. I think we figured it out. I think we just needed to find all of the paintings that were facing the dead dude. And now we have to figure out the product codes and put in an order for those 3, right? Hopefully you'll fall asleep. Sleep is important. Okay, then let's go back to Alta Vista so we can look at these. We got some Gerbers. We got some Gerbers. Right? And then... hold on. Let's write down the... well, I guess I can copy-paste, can't I? Control C. Where are our orders? There's 1. I don't have this information. Hold on. What were they? They were the down arrow. That's the lady, right? Oh no. Lady. How many numbers did she have? 6. I need 6 orders of the Gerbers, right? Sometimes you gotta terraform. It's fine. 6. Oh no! I made the mistake of using the number pad. It's fine. We need the Clivia. Okay. And then we need... that's this one, right? That's the star. So which one was the star and how many did it have next to it? Star was the upside down lady. 7. My goodness. 7. Product code for these ones, which is the triangle. You might bite our ankles, but we shall step upon you. 5. 5 orders of those. Oh my god, okay. Control C. Oh. 5? Invalid order! You should be scared of Emmy. Facts. Okay, I fucked this up. And I don't like that. Which one did I get wrong? She's 100% looking at him, right? Okay. So we need to find... I don't like this puzzle. Good John emotes. I guess he's probably not looking at him. Well... Okay. Yeah, only the people, well, I say only the people. Only mods can use those. Or people with a personal signed... Please. Please.
Rain house fire down from the sky, big
Alright. Alright, listen here. Definitely not that one. That one's definitely not looking at him. So yeah, mods and VIPs are the only ones who can use the personal sound commands. Because they're special folk. That's the triangle, which is... Or don't do it when it's quiet. Or just not? Okay, who else? No, please, no. Spooky skeleton scares the crap out of me, usually. Who is looking at him? Is it you? It might be her. So I need the square, which is where? This one. I think those are the ones that are looking at the man. Oh, goodness. Ah! I don't like it when they overlap. It's terrifying. Please. Please. Okay, and then these go in our trash corner. Right? Oh, goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that what I have for the lady? It is. Okay, so let's get our little handy dandy notebook out here. Right? That's also trash corner. We've got white flour. Oop. And we need 5 orders of those. We got red flour. Oh. And we need 6 of those. And we got pink flowers. And we need 3 of those. It's a plant conspiracy that all comes back to Mushu pork. Ivory, hello! Welcome, friends! How's it going? Thank you for the raid. How's everyone doing? How's it going? Can we get a shout out for Ivory? I don't think we shouted out Fruity earlier either when they raided. So if we could get a shout out for both folks. We're doing pretty okay. Yeah, we're investigating a plant conspiracy at the moment. I'm gonna go put these away as well. How is Minecraft? How is it going? Welcome in, everyone. I think a lot of you know who I am. Blast, thank you for the follow, friend. I appreciate it. But yes, hello, welcome in, friends. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kayshurrr. I'm an LGBTQ plus streamer who focuses on horror and mystery games. Currently playing a game called Mirror Layers. It's very spooky, very puzzle heavy, but interesting because there's an in-game app for you to contact other players to figure out puzzles together. It's very cool. Sometimes things happen where you unfollow or you forget to follow. I do that all the time. No worry, Blast, but welcome in. Red Lunatic, thank you for the follow as well. How's everyone doing? How's your night going? How are things? It is all connected back to Mushu. White flower, red flower, pink flowers. Let's start with the white flower because I know that one, right? We are currently, I don't want to say stuck because I think I've figured out the puzzle. It's just a matter of, please, game. Please, game, please. Oh, okay, there it is. I think we finally figured it out, but we have been stuck for a little while. No problem on the shout out. Not at all. I'm glad you're doing well, though. Hey, LGBTQ plus follows. Yeah, no, we're a very open, welcoming space. Try to be at least. Always here to learn about stuff, obviously. No matter how deeply involved in the community you are, there's always room to grow and learn. How much for the white flowers? Thinking about it. Okay. But yeah, welcome in, y'all. You've been streaming for a while. Oh my god, words. Let's try this again. You've been streaming for a while, assumably. If Ivory or anyone who has come in with the raid needs to get up and do a stretch, grab some food, get some water, take care of some stuff, we'll be here for another about a half an hour or so. But yeah, it's gonna be great. But I totally understand if you do need to get up. Thank you, Emmy, for pulling all that up. I do offer content warnings for every single game that we play because we do focus, like I said, on a lot of horror and mystery stuff. There is sometimes some questionable content involved, and I like to make sure that you as an audience are consuming media with, with some attention to detail. I had a better way of saying that, and then it's just left my brain. Very tired today, so you get me not at my peak, but that's okay. So if you ever do need to look at what could possibly be in any of the games that we have, we usually have a link or a list of all the possible content in a game. So there's that for you. And if you are ever interested in checking out the games that we are playing, we do also offer the game link there as well. So you can purchase, wishlist, download, whatever game that we're checking out. But yeah, like I said, if you need to get up and take care of yourself, go for it. Also, Ivory, thank you for the hydrate and the stretch reminder. If I have to take care of myself, you gotta take care of your dang self as well. I just asked that if I have to do a hydrate or a stretch or a shrimp check, you also do a hydrate or a stretch or a shrimp check. And it is Big Juice time. Big Juice. He's a big boy. It's good for staying hydrated, though. Got that big juice. And we'll get a stretch in there as well. Chat, had you hydrated? Good. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know why any channel wouldn't have the hydrate redemption, honestly. I'm so bad at reminding myself to, like, drink water. And I know a few people in chat are also not great at always remembering to drink water. And so, just a good reminder to take care of ourselves, honestly. Because guess what? We can't hang out and play games and do a bunch of stuff if we're not taking care of ourselves. So it's important that you do that. Oh, good stretch. That is a lot of points for hydrating. That's a lot of collective points for hydrating. Wowee! Good! That just means you're ultra hydrated. And that's great. We love that. Okay. What were we doing? Red flowers. It's the Gerbers, right? And then the pink ones? Alright, alright. I want to try and get this particular puzzle done before the end of stream. No drowning, only hydrating. No, good. I'm glad that you have successfully hydrated. It is very important. We got 6 of those. And then it's the azaleas, isn't it? Control C. And there's 3 of those? I don't know what you want from me, game. Every plant has the same matching shape icon as the paintings, which you use the website to put in order, I believe. And that will give you some sort of code. Yeah, no, I understand that. Rules only get harder. Okay. We'll just say the paintings don't have to be in the same room as the body. Yeah, no, I understand that. Okay, so after putting them in order, I got the code. I think you're on the wrong path there. There was paintings with different symbols, and each painting had a certain number of hands up. There were also plants with the same symbol as the painting scattered around the apartment. I took notes of how many fingers each painting had and which plants had the same symbol. Yoichi? Is that Legis? I'll be off to play some mahjong. Paintings that seem most likely to be the solution are the one with 6 fingers, the one with 4, and the one with 3. 10 also may be an option, but the person seems to be facing backwards / sideways. Problem is I've tried all of them with different combos and they didn't work. You need to order that plant that matches and put that number as the quantity. Right, but there's probably a certain order to put the plants in. Hey, did you figure it out yet? Still can't figure it out. Send me the pictures you think are the correct ones. I think... Okay. So what they say... Paintings seem likely to be the solution are the ones with 6 fingers. 6, 4, and 3. So 6... and 3. Try to get some good rest, Bono. Made me think of the funny penguin game we... Oh! Sorry, I kind of missed some of chat. Can't swim? I can't swim. Why was that light flashing? I hate that sound. 4. I'm looking for the one with 4. Is this not... Okay. I mean, you might be awake now, but sleep is important and good. That doesn't seem right. Did we have another one that had 4? Cheeky. It's a diamond. Where's the diamond? Diamond. That's a square. That's the moon. Stop whispering. That's a triangle. That's the 8-pointed star. Diamond. Let's get out of here. Please and thank you. Body scared me again. He's always there. He's never moved. He's always in the same location. And yet, freaks me out every single time. I get too confident going around that corner. And then I freak myself out because I see him. Okay. Let's try this. One more dang time. I think it wiggles a little bit, but like I think that's only when I come into the room. Like when I cross over initially, and I think honestly that's just everything falling into place. Droopy flower. That's terrible, but oh well. But as far as like when I'm actually there, he has never moved. He is always in that location, and yet still scares the shit out of me every single time. Okay, let's try this one more time. Gerbers, how many do I need for those? 6. 6. And then let's just go ahead and do the pink one. Which is 4. And the other pink one, which is the azaleas. Excuse me. Ouch. Is 5? Not 54. I don't understand, game. 6, 4, and 3. 6, 4, and 3. Was it not? It wasn't. It wasn't. You're right. No, you're right. 6, 4, and 3. No. I did throw the pink one away. But that's okay, because it's... I just typed it in wrong. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well... I put the right flower, but I put the wrong amount, I think. So let's start with... Yeah. Gerbers. Considering how melty my brain is today, I think it'll be fine. Gerber is 6. And then these ones are 4. And the azaleas are 3. Order placed! It only took us forever to get here, but we did it. Visit our greenhouse to collect your package! Yeah, first try! We've done it! Wasn't even worried. That was super frustrating though, because it's like I understood the puzzle. I just did it very bad. That scared me. Alright. It's fine, guys. We've done it. Thanks for bearing with me. Bear with me. Ah! Fucking shit, my guy. Ah, there's a body in the wall. What is happening here? Why is my camera freaking out? I'm sniffly, and there was a body in the wall, and Glassman showed up. It's fine. I'm so sniffly. Is he gone? Nope. He's still stomping. I think that was him going away.
So we came here to burgle your turts.
Hi, Travis.
I love you, bitch.
Hi, Allie.
I ain't gonna never stop loving you, bitch.
Fuck! I should have waited. I should have waited. I should have stopped and I should have waited. I got impatient. Ugh. It's fine. Welcome in, friends. How are you doing? You're here just in time for the very end of stream. Oh, I hate it here. Glassman needs to go away. I think Glassman needs to go away a little faster than he does. He's over there, though. I can see his silhouette facing through the wall. I think he's gone. Hello? Okay, there's no longer a body here. So that's cool. I wonder if I can get vertebrae from them. Cores or whatever? Oh. Oh, this is where the parts were hiding. Yeah, don't give him a high five. That man is made out of knives. Not the freezer. Okay, actually I'm gonna keep that open. Those are body parts. They've asked for anger. But that nightmare still haunts them. Now breathe. Rest a bit. Don't breathe on me. And when you're ready, proceed. Just means the next one will be a high 4. Travis, no. Travis, no. Are we gonna be in the bad house again? Join us now in the windy night. Right, no kids section, please. Of the raging, desperate mirror layer. I don't like the implications of this picture. Didn't get me as bad that time. Okay. Can I pick this up?
Hey, down here.
Excuse me? Down here?
Please help us. He took them away from us. Now we are empty inside. My blood is dirty.
Hey kid. Do I have to find his organs? Well, I don't like this. By closing your eyes. Good night. Ah! Well, I did it bad. Okay, I understand. Honestly, not nearly as bad as the child earlier. A child. I just need to not get stuck inside a sheet. Fuck! I didn't even get it! He makes bad sounds. No! No! Okay. It's just a sheet monster. Just a big old sheet monster. But I don't know how to get away from him. Hiding is gonna be difficult. I don't know how to get away from him. Open. Like, sneaking away is difficult. Fucking hell. Did I get away? I think I got away. I no longer know where he is. I think it can go through the sheets, but if I use the sheets and like go through different rooms, it'll be like he can't find me. I just have to be like extra quick, which is difficult when I've got all of this wind fighting me. Yeah. trust sheets. Well, it makes one of us. I want him... I want to get all of... I want to get all of the bits before I try and... Oh no. Fuck! 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 Wow, he's just like throwing everything around. I was saying... He's seen me, hasn't he? He knows I'm here. I want to get all the organs before I come back here to give them to the kid. This fucking sucks. Fuck! Run! Get under the bed. Right, if I could just steal the whole dang thing, that would be fantastic. It's fine. It's fine. Can't throw things. Please, open! Is it a fitted sheet? It looks pretty fitted. You don't like the heavy breathing? Not a fan of the heavy breathing? Fuck off, dude. So sometimes you're close enough to grab stuff, and other times you're not close enough to grab stuff. Also, the doors like to just kind of close on their own. But they don't close all the way. So when you like try to click on them to open them up, they end up closing and then you can't pass through. So you gotta panic click. And it all sucks. And it's all bad, because then you get stuck and you can't go anywhere. Yeah, the wind needs to quit. I need it to stop. I need these sheets to go away as well. Coming out? He was behind me the whole time, despite sounding like he was in front of me. So that's cool. I love that for me. This has gone from being scary to being annoying. Well, you're not having to run from him all the time. I'm having to run from him and die constantly, and I don't appreciate it. Fucking hell, door! It's fine. We'll just skirt around him. Are you shitting me, doors? I am annoyed. We are annoyed. Hey, do you want this? Oh, great, he's moved. Cool.
That's not mine. That's not mine. I cannot breathe.
Whose is it then? Child. Kirby under the sheets. Would explain the wind. Door. I just want to not be around here anymore, honestly. We just need to find his last location. Gotta listen for the whispers. Please, open. Where is this child? Open. I don't hear him anywhere. Not the cheeseburger breaths. Okay. Alright, he's going the way going the other way. I don't want a bonus spleen, though. I want to get rid of it. See in here.
Mom told me that emotions come from the heart.
Okay.
Thank you.
Am I supposed to go towards the bad sounds? I'll do it. Bonus spleen. It's a lot of blood. Yeah! Yeah! Fuck him up! Get him, kids! Oh, you want me to help? I'm gonna do it. I did it. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Alright. Well, that puts us on, like, what? Our third night? Third chapter? I have to sneeze, I think. We asked Blank to give us attention. Okay. Well, I do want to finish this up. I wish that these little weird sections were... Yeah, no, exactly. You either kill or get killed. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? We got 10 cores. Balcony's now unlocked. You can find some interesting items in there. Okay, Tay, that doesn't help. Alright. So I think this might just be our new weekend game for the time being. I like this. I'm here for this. But I also don't necessarily, like, want to put it off until the weekend, but I also want to finish Darkwood. It's true. Ghost Kisser did make it here. Very happy for Ghost Kisser. And see, that's the thing. If we put this off until next weekend, I don't know that Ghost Kisser is gonna be here anymore. Can we befriend Ghost Kisser? I mean, I could send him a message. I could try and post something for him before we end. Like, this game has Ghost Kisser. We love Ghost Kisser here. What should we draw for Ghost Kisser? Because I will upload it, and we will send out a message specifically to Ghost Kisser. What do you think the likelihood is that we could get Ghost Kisser to show up on stream? That's the real question. Kissing ghosts? Okay, but do we, like, should we draw Glass Man? Should we draw bad ribcage ghost dude? Now, Keith. That's what it'll be titled. We'll go, now... Keith. I'm doing extra, I'm trying extra hard to write real nice. And then we'll do little lips up here. Little smoochy lips. And we'll color them in red. Pac-Man Ghost with big kissy lips. Could do Pac-Man Ghost. Hold on, I gotta finish my little title up here. Oh, it's very difficult to draw with this, but I love it. Or Slimer from Ghostbuster. I do have green. We do got green. But hear me out. We got green. Yo, I'll tag my Twitch page to it. Do we want a Pac-Man Ghost or do we want Slimer? Pac-Man Ghost would be easier. Realistically. But then the question is, what color Pac-Man Ghost? Want me to do both? Do you want me to have both of them kissing? Slimer kissing Pac-Man Ghost? Okay, we'll do a blue Pac-Man Ghost. Sam! Sup, Sam? It's a horrifically cursed sound. And I love it. How are you doing, friend? How do we draw a little kissy face? How do we draw a kissy face on this ghost? And then big ol' smooching lips. Oh dang! Those lips thick. You do it better now, instant dopamine. I'm glad that a good Wallaluya is helping you out. We're drawing ghost smooching so that we can see if our friend Ghost Kisser can maybe pop into chat sometime. You know, like you do. And then we got, what are they cursing ghosts? I mean, probably. It wasn't the lips that I was worried about. It's the eyes. How do you draw kissy eyes? Hold on. I want to make sure that I get Slimer right. I know he's super lumpy, right? But I want to make sure I get the right kind of lumpy. So do here. There's where his eyes go. There's his head. And then we got hold on, I gotta get this in here so that we can do like little grabby hands. And also they're holding hands while they're smooching. Gotta color this one in. Just stare during smooches. Travis, no. Travis, I think that's wrong. I think you're doing it wrong. How horrific would that be if you went to go smooch someone and they just stared as you smooched? Spooky voice. We can't do Lobster Man. Lobster Man is you can't understand Lobster Man. I don't know if this is particularly spooky. But how's this one? How's this one? Is it on at least? Please don't, Travis, don't open eye smooch alley later. Does it work? Is it very quiet? Okay, hold on a second. Hang on a second. It says I'm very loud. Is that better? Or is that still extremely quiet? It just like registers as like picking up every sound ever in existence, and I hate that. Exactly the same. Are you shitting me? Oh. How about there? Oh no. No, but we got it. Oh, we got very loud. Okay, hold on. Is this better? Is that too loud? Are we at an okay volume? I'm so sorry. But is this better? Do I need to turn it down a little bit? Better? Okay. Do we like this voice or do we want to try something else?
I got this one. This one's an option. This one's called Possessed. This one? Possessed? Okay, alright. Let's do Possessed for 5 minutes. While we draw this picture for, I'm sorry it was so loud. I personally have not changed my volume. I've just messed around with some of the settings. I'm sorry. Here, let's start that at 5 minutes. Get back in here to draw this picture for Ghost Kisser. And we gotta let Ghost Kisser know how much we love them and appreciate their little notes about all the weird dreams that they've been having.
Don't you want to become a cult leader? Since the death of God, there's been a vacancy open. You could fill that.
Perfect. Beautiful.
And that's a raw fact.
I also hope Ghost Kisser likes our drawing. Look at how hard I'm trying to, look at how hard I'm working on it. I'm trying to fill it in. It's very hard with this pen as it does not take up a lot of space. But I need them to know that I appreciate them and that I love them, and I hope that they're doing well. And I also hope that they're not a shitty human being, because that would be extremely unfortunate. But that's okay, because it's still time well spent trying to make them this beautiful Smooch and Ghost picture. Right? My God, just... Ooh. They do be smooching. There's so much smooching going on. Too much smooching? No. Not enough smooching. Okay. Our lovely little ghosty filled in. Done well. I'm gonna re-outline his armies a little bit. And fill in that eye just a smidge. Kind of outline those lips. Little armies. I mean, Slimer's gonna have a tongue. That's what Slimer's known for, right? Well, I gotta outline the ghosts a little bit. So he really stands out, because there's just so much blue in there, you know? We gotta make sure a little ghosty is, like, super visible, right? I mean, he's also known for the slime, but there is tongue involved in there, alright? Oh, how are we gonna draw this bad mouth? How are we gonna draw these bad eyes? You know what? Slimer would 100% just stare with, like, open eyes as he's doing a smooch. Oh no. Hold on. Let's fix this. Maybe he wouldn't stare with open eyes because I fucked it up. Thank you, Sam. We'll just also do smoochy lips. Oh, that bottom lip, very fat. But we'll also get, like, a big tongue in there. I'm gonna outline it so you can see that that's a tongue. Oh boy, is that a big Slimer tongue? Wowee, what a drawing. I will outline the lips as well. I should have probably started out using black, but you know, it's fine. And then we'll color it in. So that, again, you get that feeling that, yep, that's a tongue. Boy howdy, is Slimer just going to town on that poor little Pac-Man ghost. Out. It's okay. As we discussed last time, Sam, you're consistent. You gotta be consistent with these things. It's now an official goof. It's not you just intentionally doing it bad. You're just sticking with the goof. Right? Right. kind of like outline these lips so that you know that they're lips. Oh. No, don't restart the timer. Fluke. Ah, yes, the goof. This is me trying to give you a cover, Sam. Roll with it.
And now we're back to a normal voice. We should be back to a normal voice, at least. In theory. We should be normal. Oh, I hate these eyes. Do not like this. Gotta fill Slimer in. We'll add all his wrinkles once we fill him in. Good. It's at least one less cursed thing on stream. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Yeah, gotta fill the boy in. It's fine. It's difficult to convey how much smooching is going on here when I've only got the 4 colors to work with, you know? But I think we're doing an okay job, all things considered. Hi, we're gonna go about 20 minutes over stream, simply so we can draw this picture for our best bud, Ghost Kisser 2000? Is that their full handle? It's fine. Look, y'all wanted this. Y'all wanted this. Y'all still want me to do this as a redeem? Once we beat this game, we load it up, just do pictures on the wall? Yeah? Okay, alright. I mean, I could do it in Paint, but do we specifically want this terrible notebook? Absolutely okay. Alright, alright. I'm gonna rack up so much time in this fucking game just because we're gonna be drawing. So much. I wonder if the dev thought that this was how the game was gonna end up. That this was how people were gonna use it. That good, like, wind whistle in the background. You can hear the pen scratching. Probably. I can, at least. It's great. Got the spooky apartment around ya. It's fine. It's nice in this one, though. In this particular part of the apartment. Because there's no threat of a monster getting you. But it's still just... It's still spooky. Mushu lives on the internet now. He's safe forever. I don't know about that. We'll have to re-upload Mushu. Okay. There's Slimer, right? We gotta get his hands back in there. Because even though he's doing a big ol' wet French on this little Pac-Man ghost, he does care. And he wants to hold the Pac-Man ghost's hand while he's smooching. You know? He's a considerate lover. That Slimer from classic film Ghostbusters. Fucking hell. Why are we doing this? Why is this? Why is this what we're doing with our time? Can someone explain to me how we got to this portion of my life where I'm drawing Slimer and Pac-Man Ghost just going at each other? Somebody's gonna send me a C and D. Fucking let him. Just let him. Okay, you know what? I changed my mind. Slimer is definitely looking. Here, we'll do... Pac-Man... Ghost... Famous... Oh no. Writing's getting weird. Famous ghost... Slimer. From... hit movie. Ghost. Oh, I don't have space here. Oh shit. Ghost hyphen Busters. We love you, Ghost Kisser. A little heart for our friend Ghost Kisser. We are very low on space. Oh no. Are you sure? I don't know, this seems great. From Twitch friend? Oh no. K A Y S H U R R R. Barely fit that shit in there. Fucking look at this. Hold on a second. Oh! Oh, no, 100%. Twitch friend Kayshurr's going in the comment. I am going to screenshot that. People go post on Reddit. Missed connection. Ghost Kisser. Okay. Insert. I can click on the button. Oh no. Oh, there's much further ahead than us. Okay, hold on. What if I spam like all of their comments, right? Just to kind of get their attention, you know? I'm gonna use up all my cores for this. And it's gonna be worth it. Thank you, Emmy, for the comment. Or for the clip. For the clip. We're gonna like. We're gonna like. Oh no. Don't think Ghost Kisser was expecting a buddy. I don't want to look at this! Don't like all of my posts. No, right? Okay, no, that's what we're writing. Notice me. Ghost Kisser 2000 Senpai. I drew you a beautiful picture. Love. Twitch friend. Here, we'll do love your Twitch friend. Kayshurrr. P.S. It's Pac-Man, Ghost, Smoochin', Famous Ghost. Oh god, I'm doing this bad. No, just Smoochin', Slimer. Famous Ghost. Ghostbusters. I hope you like it. I worked hard on it. Just for you. Send! This is how you make friends, right? Also just gonna screenshot that one for later. Can we just, I don't know. No, bring that back. No, bring that back! Oh, I've done it bad. Oh, I've done it bad. Give me that back. And, give me the note back. That's gotta go on our wall. We've done a lot of good stuff tonight. Absolutely. Here, we'll put that up there. Also, these can go away now because I hate them. Into the trash pile. Also, here was our very first picture. It's not good. But there are our pictures. What do you mean? What do you mean nothing, Mushu Pork? What's there not to love about this Mushu Pork? I don't understand what the problem is. It's just Mushu Pork. Here's our worried friend, Mushu Pork. You can tell he's worried because his nipples, his leg-long nipples, have retreated into his body. And then here's our good friend Gex. You wanna see Mushu again? There's Mushu. Good stuff. Also, Travis, thank you for the contribution to the wholesome stream. 25% of the way there already. Jesus Christ, you guys. Yeah, I hope you like my pictures. I drew them for you guys. There they are. Sam, thank you as well for the contribution. Oh, these can all go away now too. Yeah, I guess those will stay. And we're just gonna quit out now. Well, maybe we'll check back tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, start a stream. Or tomorrow afternoon at the start of stream. We'll pop in just to see if Ghost Kisser has noticed us yet. Will the wholesome stream also be cursed? I mean, I'm involved. So yes. Oh, I'll give everyone updates on the Ghost Kisser situation. I think maybe at the beginning of every stream we'll just pop open mirror layers and be like, all right, what's the Ghost Kisser situation? Where do we stand with Ghost Kisser? Yeah. Ghost Kisser Watch 2021. Here, I'll add that as a redeem. It'll be a once it's here. No, we'll just do it at the beginning of stream. It'll be fine. We'll do it at the beginning of stream because I'm also invested and I don't want to wait for people to redeem it. So let's go ahead and set up a raid. Find someone to go bother. Nimbly is streaming. Y'all want to go hang out with Nimbly? I think they're also doing, well, I say also. I think they're doing Animal Crossing, which is valid. Goodness gracious. That's incorrect. Oh my god, I'm doing this bad. Alright, well, there are the raid messages. First one's for anyone who may not have a subscription. You can check us out there. Or, fucking hell, I'm done. I'm done for the night. Copy paste those as a raid message when we go say hello to Nimbly. We're gonna go say hi to Nimbly. My brain has officially shut down. I used all my brain power for those stupid puzzles, and then I used the last of my ability to function, making that very, very beautiful picture for Ghost Kisser. Have a great night, everyone! It's wonderful to see you all. As always, take care of yourself. We'll be back tomorrow with some more Graveyard Keeper and some Darkwood and an update on the Ghost Kisser situation. And, yeah, I love you all. Take care. We'll see you later, guys. Bye!